So the Ramleys coming together. Case in point, LT coming up next.
We are the Bears, shuffling crew, shuffling on down, doing it for you. Hey, 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 ram it. Do you know how to ram it? We're so bad, we know we're good, blowing your mind like we knew we would. You know we're just strutting for fun, strutting our stuff for everyone. We're not here to start no trouble, we're just here to do the Super Bowl show.
Everyone, welcome to Total Football Talk. It is not Eric on the phone. It is a very dear friend of mine right off the bat. Somebody that I was lucky enough to get in contact with a while back. So without further ado, LT, Combat Sports LA, take it away.
What is up, my brother, Mr. Man at Total Football Talk, formerly LA Rams Central, but still the OG. I want to thank my friend very much for having me on this show. Probably like my fifth or sixth show. It's honor. You guys have no idea what this man knows on his content with the Rams and football in general, and just a great guy he is, and a mentor. As you guys know, on my channel, and most of our subscribers just synonymous with each other, Anthony has helped me a long way on getting my channel to where it's at today. So I owe this man a great deal of gratitude and just a great friendship that's come along for it. So I do appreciate you having me on the show today, Anthony.
Well, you know,
Super Bowl Rams.
Absolutely, which is a big deal. You know, it's a pleasure, LT, and I've said this all along, that the fans really are the reason why I do this, because I just don't feel like there was a lot of Ram content out there when I started this, and it was really, it started from an emotional high of the Rams going to LA and me wanting to do something to show that they do have a fan base there, and not even in LA, but everywhere. That the Ramily is a lot larger than Southern California, and that's it, as if that's the way it really is in their minds, but it's not. And, you know, LT, Cliff, April, you know, Clash of the Horns, so many people. It goes on and on. But I did tell Cliff that I was going to give him an extra shout out, because Cliff has been with me from the very beginning, as has April, as have you. And he has always provided great, as you all have. And this is why I love doing the show, because you provide great points. You correct me when I'm wrong, because I'm not perfect. And, you know, you get the essence of what I'm trying to talk about each episode and really embody that in your replies and your comments, which is always welcomed and awesome. So, Cliff, thank you. I told you I'd give you a special shout out because I gave April one and Clash of the Horns, but I wanted to get you, brother.
Oh, no, thank you, yeah.
So,
can I say something? Yeah,
yeah.
Subscribers, too. I didn't realize Cliff was with you that long. Just great, like I said, our subscribers have become synonymous with one another, and it's just the Ramley essence, that presence and how it's felt, and just how much we embrace our team is just a great thing. So, thank you on that.
No, and there's a hunger out there, and it's evident, because my subscribers went to you because you started to cover in the Rams. They went to Clash of the Horns, or it came from Clash of the Horns. They, went to Trent in Rams Talk. I mean, anywhere we can get Ram conversation, we jump in, and it's great. The next thing that I kind of want to talk about was a little bit of the perspective of the Super Bowl here. So I'm going to talk a little bit from an Arizona perspective. LT's in the heart of it. He's in downtown LA. He is in the center, the mecca, if you will, of where the Ramily heartbeat begins and starts. And then I think it pulsates throughout the United States. And trust me, when the LA Rams do get to more Super Bowls and win multiple Super Bowls, that bandwagon is going to expand because when LA is successful, you can't go into a room and not find somebody wearing Ram or LA paraphernalia when the team is doing well. I just saw a guy in a Dodgers jacket today at the pizza place that I was at, and we were talking football, and he's a Ram fan too. So it's a really cool thing. And I was actually talking to a really cool Patriot fan who was actually my the guy working the register, and he was a really cool dude. But the bottom line is, LT, out here in Arizona, everyone out here that I have talked to so far is rooting for the Rams, unless they're a Patriot fan. My buddy Jim is a Cardinal fan, and he's like, "Go Rams," and I'm like, "Go Rams." He's like, "Go Rams." So he's in our division, and he's rooting for the Rams because he wants to see somebody different win the Super Bowl, and I think there's a lot of people that are at that point. But what I want people to understand from a Rams perspective out here in Arizona is this base. I'm seeing it grow here in Arizona. I'm noticing more and more Ram fans. I'm getting people to honk their horns when I'm on the road and they see my Jeep's my Jeep stickers in the back of the window. I'm getting people to kind of see my hat and give me a thumbs up and initiate conversation. I saw a Ram fan in Target the other day, and I said, "Go Rams," and he just kind of looked up and went, "Yeah," and he was kind of going about what he was doing. But they're growing. The base is growing. And you know what I'm not seeing, LT? I'm not seeing Charger fans anywhere.
Absolutely.
So, from LA, what are you seeing?
Well, thanks for that perspective in Arizona. And I wanted to say that it's interesting you say with Arizona and Californians showing kind of a presence with LA-based teams is don't forget the Dodgers practice out in Glendale, Arizona. If correct me if I'm wrong.
You are right.
Correctly.
You are right.
The Rams' presence evolving. The Lakers travel well. Don't forget how expensive California is. You and me have had some great private conversations on just how expensive it is out here in California and affordable to live in Arizona. You're going to have those transplants fans that go out there for better jobs, affordable houses, and that sort. Just like with LA being the second largest city in the nation, it's also a transplant city. So of course you have your other teams from people who come up there to work and eventually stay out there. The Lakers, the Dodgers, the Kings, they have established themselves in Los Angeles because of history, great players, names, championships, you name it. LA attracts the big names. The Los Angeles Rams are bringing the relevance. People like Anthony, who have followed them from Los Angeles to St. Louis, back to Los Angeles, and except for some who remember that when they were in Cleveland. The Rams are picking it up. I'm not going to go too much and expose my 30 for 30. If you guys get a chance, please check out my channel. I have a 30 for 30. I have a 3-part episode on my take on the Rams and the Patriots and just what I think that goes down leading up towards the Super Bowl. With that being said, the fans' presence is showing out there. And the big thing, Anthony, I'm sure you can agree with, when you think of the Lakers, you think of Jack Nicholson, right? Dodgers, plenty of players out there. Can't think of an example right now with the LA Kings, but the Rams out there, you have guys like LeBron James, who's a Cowboys fan, who plays for the Lakers out there. You have rappers, all kinds of actors bringing up there. The guy Trujillo, the guys that plays the Machete, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's been kind of like that, name out there for the Rams. And of course, Eric Dickerson, he's been that ambassador for that, which I know that you were old enough to embrace and see his greatness of Eric Dickerson out there. And I had the conversation today, Anthony. In fact, when we were talking about planning this show, I was walking into a Target and I said, "Hey, Anthony, this is great to see LA Rams gear right here in the middle of the men and women's section," and most of the gear was sold out. And I saw nothing but Chargers gear open there. And I'm starting to see less and less Raiders gear, which is a beautiful sight, and less of, Cowboys, Niners, and that kind of stuff. From a marketing standpoint for the city of Los Angeles and in Southern California, it only makes sense to praise the team, just like our mayor in Los Angeles is doing. He said he wanted just the Rams. When he said with the Chargers, he's like, they're all right, but we really don't need them. I mean, I don't want to slap the faces in Charger fans and the team, but I know it's being the dead horse. They should have stayed in San Diego. And this, Anthony, as I told you in our conversation, just propels the Rams' success and their popularity just that more. Los Angeles belongs to the Rams because of the fan base that was established 30, 40 years prior, and the fact that the Rams are in the Super Bowl in under 3 seasons with all these high-profile names and the coach.
You know, and the thing for me too, LT, that gets lost in a lot of this is not just that the fan base has been there, like you said, and that it's built, but that it's what Stan Kroenke did to really get the city behind him. He's the only owner in the National Football League that is paying 100% of the stadium bill.
Exactly.
I don't know of another owner in sports that's doing that.
Yes. Can I say something on that?
Yeah.
So with Stan Kroenke, here's a little history lesson for you guys. I love what my friend Anthony always says when he's passionate about something is I'm an MBA major. I'm an Orange man. I go to Syracuse. And business is something I'm very passionate about as I'm learning. So, of course, Stan Kroenke being a businessman, what you said, deep pockets that he has funding this stadium. Stan Kroenke owns, I believe, 5 to 6 professional teams.
Yeah.
He bought this property, the land, 2015, said that it was going to be a super Walmart, and then a year later, the Rams come in with the NFL owners voting 30-2.
Yeah.
Okay, another thing, I looked this up. Stan Kroenke is worth 8-point-something billion. Okay, his wife is 6.6 billion. I'm sure you know this, Anthony, but to the subscribers out there, Stan Kroenke's wife is a daughter of Walmart.
Yep.
So you just imagine how much money that they have there, and this with $5 billion stadium coming in and establishing with the fan base and everything, he's going to make that money. Sorry, I just had to put that point in there, Anthony.
No, it's a great point. It's an absolute great point. Now, the other thing that I wanted to touch on before we get to opening night is, you know, I wanted to touch on this without getting too much into it. But you had said on your show, LT, during the preview for the Rams-Saint game that what you were really excited about is it was a 50-50 split. That the pundits were split. Some were picking the Rams, some were picking the Patriots or the Saints, and it was nice to see. It's not 50-50 in the Super Bowl. I'm hearing a lot of people act like the Rams are going to, you know, like the Rams don't stand a chance in this game. And I don't know if it's blind ignorance, lack of film study. We know they don't watch Ram games. That's evident. Because if they watched Ram games, they would be talking Jared Goff up way more than they do.
Yes.
But what kills me is they don't understand. I mean, I don't know how you can look at these two teams all year long, watch them side by side like the average fan has done, and really don't think and really come away with it thinking the Rams don't stand a chance. This has been a team that wasn't picked to beat Dallas. You know, the Dome was too impossible to win in because, you know, the New Orleans Saints in their history have never lost in the Louisiana Superdome. They've never lost there. Okay, there's sarcasm there. You know, and now it's like, well, the Rams don't stand a chance against the Patriots because they have all that experience. I remember Philadelphia last year didn't have any.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm sitting there going, all right, if you know, I don't know why they continuously pick the AFC every year, but yet in the regular season they always say the right thing, that the NFC is the dominant conference. But yet every time it gets to the Super Bowl, they're not favored.
Excellent point.
Your take on it?
I completely agree, and I just think it comes down to biases. And since the Patriots, yes, they have been to 9 Super Bowls. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony.
That's correct. Well, this team. The organization, this is its 11th.
Yes. So it is hard to go and bias, but I think it's funny just how they comparisons to LeBron in Cleveland because the Eastern Conference, just using this analogy. In fact, people like to compare Tom Brady with LeBron. I have a bias because I dislike Tom Brady. I hate everything about the Patriots. I have to be a LeBron James fan because I'm a Laker fan. But anyways, with the Patriots, they have the easiest conference, arguably, in the AFC East, where they have the Dolphins and the Jets and the Bills, where those guys have no idea how to run a franchise. So, of course, it's easy for the Patriots to prepare for the playoffs, very similar to what the Warriors do, where they just kind of, we're not there yet. They, what's wrong with the Patriots? And they always find themselves in the playoffs, and they get back to there. Okay, and that's great. That's fine that the Patriots have that system. Their fan base has been to that many Super Bowls. But let's call it how it is, just like you mentioned. The NFC is the tougher conference and represents well. The AFC is absolutely weak. The Chiefs came from nowhere. Okay, we didn't expect that. The Chargers are the Chargers. The Chargers will always choke in the playoffs. They find a way. Okay, with the exception of those big teams, it's always the Patriots, sometimes the Ravens, the Steelers. The Steelers were a mess. I was expecting the Steelers to be in there. So it's always the same ones, but it seems like the NFC, how good they get every year, there's some teams that just come up and out of there. And what I've seen from this Rams team in the playoffs is that house money that was spent on them with guys like Peters, Talib, Sue, Brandon Cooks, Fowler Jr. These guys they're all punching in their paycheck. They are putting that clock where it is, and they are showing their worth to why the Rams picked these people. Because remember that, Anthony, in the regular season, how much criticism we got? Oh, that defense can't do anything. Jared Goff is a system QB. What's wrong with the Los Angeles Rams, even though they finished 13-3 with back-to-back NFC West titles? And you helped me, Anthony. There's times I got frustrated. I lost some faith. You would tell me, don't worry. They will punch their way in. They will figure it out. And this team is so resilient. But I think the brilliance of McVay, Wade Phillips, and Fossil, they find creative ways to evolve their game. And that's a scary thing about the Los Angeles Rams.
And here's the thing people don't understand, and this is what drives me crazy, because I heard it today too. The Rams came from nowhere. No, they didn't. The Rams drafted Donald a few years ago. They drafted Jared Goff. They drafted Todd Gurley. They came from nowhere because you refused to watch anybody but the Patriots, Steelers, Cowboys, Packers, 49ers, Seahawks, and Broncos or Colts, depending if Peyton Manning is playing. It's not the Rams' fault that you're a 6-team league and the other teams don't matter and you don't even pay attention to them, okay? Because this thing was being built and you could see it. You could see it. And I've always said, you're a dynasty when you hit in the late rounds. And the Rams hit in the late rounds with Jarrett, with Kupp, who's not even eligible to play in the Super Bowl. Imagine him back next year. With Reynolds, the wide receiver, with Johnson from BC, which I went ecstatic with when the Rams got him. Trying to think of the other one they got. Littleton and Abikuam. Abikuam was a late round pick. Littleton wasn't even drafted. I mean, these guys, they brought in smart players. They brought in Nickel Roby-Coleman. They brought in Dante Fowler, who gave the Patriots a hard time. You don't think the Rams were planning on playing New England? They went out and they didn't want anybody else but Fowler Jr. Why? Because he tore New England up in week 2, and he was absolutely destroying them in the conference championship game every play.
So I have to interrupt you. You brought up a good point, and it makes me putting my thinking cap on here. You mentioned the AFC. Of course, with the Jaguars, they have a history of facing the Patriots, so who better on defense to understand Tom Brady? Also, one of the top QBs, future Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, Aqib Talib, with Wade Phillips. Anthony, do you remember who beat the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship to get to the Super Bowl and win Super Bowl 50?
Denver.
Exactly.
I also remember Aqib Talib winning a Super Bowl with the New England Patriots.
Yes. Who's the best inside man to understand it all? The Rams intelligent, and it just backs up your point.
Brandon Cooks was there a year ago. You know, they went out and they got players that know how to play the game. And, you know, the last thing that I want to cover for this show, and it's a brief one, but I wanted to get LT on here, and I don't want to step on his 30 for 30, and I certainly don't want to step on what Eric and I are going to be covering.
Of course not.
Moving on. But I'm watching opening night tonight, and I watched Jared Goff. Guys, I'm telling you, this is not – I mean, I watched because I wanted to see if Jared Goff was going to be – if the moment was too big for Jared. And it wasn't. You know, Jared was just calm and cool, and he kind of noticed Kurt and even referred to him as Kurt. And he's talking to Kurt in a conversation while he's got all these cameras looking at him. The kid has Joe Montana cool.
What's his idol?
Right? He literally does have ice water running through his veins. He showed that in the championship game.
Yes,
you know,
he did.
You know, and then I'm watching Aaron Donald, and he's just you know, you could just tell he's ready to go.
Oh, he's gonna eat him up. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No.
The Madden simulation. Remember I told you about that?
Yep.
Predicting the Rams to destroy the Patriots, and Aaron Donald finishes with 4 sacks. I found that pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, and I was telling you earlier too that there was another Madden simulation that I was watching on YouTube where the Patriots won 36-34 on a last-second field goal.
Yes.
And you know, I'll tell you, the only chance New England has is if it's close, because I'm telling you right now, if it's going to be a blowout, it's going to be the Rams blowing New England out. There will be no way New England blows the Rams out of the water. There just isn't. There isn't. You can't look. You look at these lineups and you go, where does New England have the advantage? Quarterback? Okay, fine, I'll give that to you. O-line? Absolutely not. D-line? Absolutely not. Linebacker? No friggin' way. Secondary? Give me a break. Special teams? I don't think so. Kicker? Nope. Punter? Absolutely not. Coaching? Yeah, I'll go with that. Belichick's been there more. That's it. So you're not going to tell me the Patriots are going to blow the Rams out when they have an advantage in one area on the field and the one area off the field.
Yes.
So in defensive coaching, Rams have the advantage. Special teams coaching, Rams have the advantage. Offensive coordinator, Rams have the advantage, because I'll take McSlay over, you know, Josh McScandals any day of the week. So, you know, call it what it is. The Patriots win, it's because it's a close Super Bowl.
Hey,
but
Anthony, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What's Wade Phillips' track record against Bill Belichick?
Dominant.
Last I checked, he frustrates Bill Belichick.
A lot. He frustrates Tom Brady.
Interesting.
So here's what I thought was fascinating. I'm watching opening night. The Rams get this huge ovation. And you could just feel the excitement in the room, right? Then, you know, Tom Brady, a.k.a. Frankenstein, comes out. I'm sorry, but he looks like Frankenstein. I love how people are like, Tom Brady's so handsome. I'm like, dude, I'm better looking than Tom Brady now. When he was younger, he was a good-looking guy. But dude looks like Frankenstein now. I'm sorry, but he does. But anyway, when Frankenstein and company came out, you know, they got booed. Like, not cheered. There were boos in that stadium or wherever that center arena, whatever it was.
They're in Atlanta.
I know, but they weren't in the dome, but they're in some kind of like entertainment center place. Right. But they got booed. You could hear more boos than cheers. And that told me, okay, because opening night is a good indicator of who bought tickets to the game. I think the Rams might get a couple of false start penalties in their favor because of crowd noise. I think the Rams actually traveled better to the Super Bowl than the New England Patriots did. And I'm going to be watching for that on Sunday because that is an underlining, fascinating story. Because every single time we watch TV and I'm watching the game and I see nothing but a sea of blue and yellow, which, by the way, I love that the Rams are embracing the blue and yellow. If you don't think the Rams are going to blue and yellow when they get to the new stadium, you're living in delusions of grandeur. Say goodbye to the whites. Say goodbye to the gold. They're bringing back the blue and yellow. But every time I watch the game, you hear, "Go Rams, go." Whose house? Rams house. And then the announcers go, oh, there's a really big Eagles fan contingency here. Oh, there's a really big Viking fan contingency here. It's probably 50-50, maybe 60-40 Rams, but there's a lot of Vikings. And then the game's being played, you don't hear nothing. And then you hear him go, well, did you hear that skull chant? No, but I did hear the Whose House, Rams house chant. Like, it kills me because the announcers try so hard, and I don't know why. I cannot figure out why they want people to believe at home like LA isn't embracing the Rams. You live there, LT. Help me out, bro.
Well, I love your rant on here on that. But before I get into that too, you said something interesting prior to. I want to throw some love and shout out to the city of St. Louis, especially someone like yourself.
Oh, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that.
Okay, you're in the next segment. Okay.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, yes, in Los Angeles, the Rams are the popular team. They are the Lakers. They're the Dodgers. They're the Kings. There's no question that they have embraced the city over, and there's definitely Rams parts all over. I mean, you have the Dodgers, the Lakers, the Kings. It's funny on my Twitter, I'm actually putting me, a small little sports channel, saying, hey, why don't you go throw a shout out to the LA Rams? And it's funny because I'm starting to see more of that. So, that's ultimately one of my goals to work for one of the broadcasting, stations, or maybe even work for the LA Rams. Who knows? But, they're having blue all over the place. Same thing they did with the Dodgers at the World Series. You have down in the boardwalk down in Malibu. There's blue there. The downtown LA, certain banks coloring blue. The mayor, it's just very, very embraced. And it's funny because people act like this is a shocker that the bandwagon fans would jump in. In fact, on my channel in videos, I throw a shout out to them. But I have no problem with that because it's my city and our city, and the fans are what makes the team relevant. Heck, we are the ones that are paying for the team. So why not have as much people embrace the city and the team? And it's just a cool, popular thing. It's just like with the Lakers and the Dodgers in the 80s. I know, Anthony, you're not really a fan of that, but you probably remember the Showtime era.
Oh, yeah.
And the Dodgers win the World Series in 88 and just how popular that was with LA. And you gave me a great history lesson, actually, today on how the Rams have always had relevance in Los Angeles. They were popular, and the Raiders just kind of came in and embraced the gangster era, winning a Super Bowl, and they were just kind of the other thing. I want you to elaborate that too, Anthony, because I'm sure some of our subscribers here who are longtime Ram fans and old school LA fans, how did you feel about that as a fan with the Raiders coming in and that deal with the Rams were the original LA team? I want your take on that.
Well, two things. Number one, if you get a job with the LA Rams, you better be calling me up to come to work for you. All right, because that's been a dream of mine since I was knee high to a grasshopper. But in reference to that, all I was saying is I was born, in '79, so through the '80s, it was the Ram Raider thing going on. But what I went back and learned was that the Ram fan base stuck with LA even when they went to Anaheim. They didn't like it, but they stuck with them. But when the Raiders came to LA and went to the Coliseum, they got to the Super Bowl in the second year that they were there, won the Super Bowl in '83, and they kind of had this, the NFL always kind of billed them as this rugged, rough, tough thing, and really the NFL was responsible for driving Ram fans away from the Rams and driving them to Oakland, which in my opinion was the beginning of the end of football in Los Angeles, because there were a lot of Ram fans that were like, I'm not going to the Raiders. I'm not embracing this gangster G, homie G mentality. I got a family, but the Rams just got less and less coverage. And even though they were winning games in the 80s and outperforming the Raiders, I may remind people in the 80s, the Rams just fell off the wagon by 91. And at that point, when the Rams fell off the wagon, the Raiders had no chance because the fans might have been able to build a new stadium for the Rams, but they weren't going to build a new stadium for the Raiders and Rams. And it was almost like and this is why Pete Rozelle didn't want the Raiders in LA, because he knew it was going to be like injecting cancer into a healthy body. And it would eventually kill the host. And that's exactly what it did. The Raiders were solely responsible for the death of football in LA. If the Raiders never come to LA, the Rams with Eric Dickerson and all that flash and all that Hollywood, even though they're in Anaheim, which the fans were pissed off about, and justifiably so, they would have been fine. But once the Raiders came in, coupled with the move to Anaheim, it just created this, like I said, it was like injecting cancer in a healthy body. And the host eventually died from the disease. And they left. Which brings me to the final thing that I want to talk about today, which is the St. Louis fan base. Now, guys, for those of you that don't know, because you're new subscribers, 2 things on this. I love the Rams, and I went with them to St. Louis, and I came with them back home. Now, I got emotional, and for those of you that don't know, I cried on that day the Rams were officially anointed going. I got in my car when I heard the vote, and I just cried. It was like a part of my childhood was coming back, and I was able to complete the me that was my fan, my inner football person. I didn't think it was going to affect me that way, but it did. It's no disrespect to St. Louis. And I made a few shows to kind of explain that this is not about leaving St. Louis, but it's about coming home. Our history is forever entwined with St. Louis. St. Louis, you have a Super Bowl champion. And the Rams, they have a Super Bowl champion. And it was the St. Louis Rams.
Where did they start first, Anthony? Where did the Rams originally
Cleveland.
start? Exactly.
They originally started in Cleveland in 1937, and they got the name Rams because the owner was like the Fordham Rams, and he went to Fordham University, so he named the team after the mascot. But when the Rams went to St. Louis, there was a reason they went to St. Louis. They weren't drawing fans anymore. The Raiders had killed it, and the Lakers were kind of falling off the wagon. The Kings were kind of good but inconsistent. And the Dodgers weren't doing anything, so people lost interest in sports. But college, though, oh my goodness, USC Trojan football and all that, and UCLA football was really hot at that point in the 90s, especially the mid-90s. But the Rams left for St. Louis, and they built what would have been a dynasty if it wasn't for the New England Patriots.
Can I say something right there?
Yeah.
And that's exactly the city of St. Louis, from an LA native, an Angelino, and someone who loves this team, our team, and the city of St. Louis. I've been to St. Louis when I went there for boot camp. Been there 3 times in my military career. It's an absolute beautiful city, great food, love the beer. The people are blue-collar, hardworking people. And I want to thank you for our team back. Because I'm not going to say it's my team, your team. It's our team.
It is our team.
St. Louis, Los Angeles Rams. And I just wanted to say that because when you said that, Anthony, that just brought perspective to me. If that Tuck rule did not go in effect for Tom Brady, the Rams might have won 4 or 5 Super Bowls as the St. Louis Rams. And I hope that's where you were alluding to.
Well, and they never would have come to LA. Right. So you have two elements here. The Rams never leave for St. Louis if it's not for the Oakland Raiders moving to Los Angeles, right? And the NFL embracing that gangster era mentality. Yes. The Rams never leave St. Louis if the officials just call it what it was in the snow that day in New England, a fumble. Everyone knew it was a fumble. It was a fumble. They had to fabricate and invent a rule just to make it not a fumble. It was a fumble. If it's not for that, the Rams are either going to play the Steelers or the Raiders in Super Bowl 36. It's not even close. The Rams are going to blow the doors off of both of those teams. So, that happens. The Rams, like I said, they win 3 or 4 Super Bowls in St. Louis, and they're forever going to be the St. Louis Rams, and that's the end of it. But as tragic as what happened to the Rams was before they went to St. Louis, and with what happened to the Rams in St. Louis, I want to piggyback off of something you said, LT.
Yes, sir.
It is our team. And I think it's time that the Ram fans in LA put in a little perspective what St. Louis did for us. They picked us up off the mat, and they made us relevant.
Yes.
And we picked them up off the mat and made them relevant as well. And the Rams, to this day, they are the only franchise in professional sports that can say this. They are the only team in professional sports and this is thanks to St. Louis, to have won 3 championships in 3 different cities. They won in Cleveland in 45, they won in LA in 51, and they won in St. Louis in 99. There is no other sport that can make that claim. There is no other franchise that can make that claim. And I think that's thanks to St. Louis.
Yes, absolutely. And I really thank you on that, Anthony. As I've learned, being a newly Ram fan, I have no shame in it. I have 1,000-something subscribers who are synonymous with your channel, and I have made it very clear. You can say whatever BS you want, but I seem to have a good following of people who like my content and the LA Rams. Because let's face it, half the Ram fans right now are bandwagon fans. I'm a loyal person to my city. People like Anthony who chose the Rams, whatever the reason, because I know you were a transplant, you lived in a couple of different places. I've watched your show long enough, and I respect the fact that you can stay with the team for so long. Okay, Lakers fan, Dodger fan. I'm loyal to my city. Lakers came from Minneapolis. Dodgers came from Brooklyn. The Kings started in LA 1967 because of the Lakers' same owner. Okay, I'm loyal to my city. The Rams are not going to leave Los Angeles.
No.
You have a $5 billion stadium. That money invested owner, they are not going to leave Los Angeles again.
And it's an owner-funded stadium.
Yeah, exactly. The Dodgers will never leave. The Kings will never leave. So I just find it funny, Anthony, the loyalty aspect. Like I have buddies who are Raider fans, Packer fans, Niner fans, Steeler fans, Cowboy fans. And I'm like, dude, you live in Southern California with me, and you're not going to root for the local team? At least choose one of the Rams or the Chargers. No, that's my team, like Raider fans. And I'm like, but you go up to Oakland maybe once a year to watch the game, but you don't live there and have anything with the city. Isn't that what's part of being the team, to embrace the city? Especially what my city has gone through with the fires, the shootings in the last year, and to see where it's gone here. And I don't care. It's a funny debate to me because it's loyal to my city. I picked the team at 4-12, and let me finish. I'll let you get to Anthony. And it's something that I can embrace with my son, number one, because my son is a year old, and he has all 4 teams embraced. And something that Anthony said, I wanted to cry too. In fact, I kind of teared up when the Rams announced they're coming to 2016 because I watched them a little bit in St. Louis. I love the greatest show on turf. I hated the Patriots for that very reason. I never was a Raiders fan, but I know damn well that they cheated with the tuck rule, and that pretty much killed the St. Louis Rams dynasty.
Well, I want to make one thing clear here. The Patriots didn't cheat with the tuck rule. The officials, for whatever reason, had a vested interest in the Patriots winning that game.
I'm just saying in general,
right. Well, no, but what I want to say is they did cheat in the Super Bowl. Like, that's unequivocal. They spied on us. We know they cheated. Spygate happened. That's undebatable. But, just because I know some people are saying the Rams cheated against New Orleans, we didn't cheat. The officials blew it. That's not our fault.
Thank you, Anthony. That's such BS, by the way. Thank you very much.
Yeah. No.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut off your thing, but I want to say something about that. Yeah, I'm going to say something right now.
Go ahead.
Okay. As an Angelino, a Los Angeles Rams fan here, don't blame the city. Don't blame the team. We drafted well. We grabbed the coach right. We have a great owner. And one blown call. You want to watch Anthony's show on how he breaks down. And your last video was great, by the way, Anthony.
I was going to ask you what you thought of that.
On breaking down. It was beautifully done. Don't try to break the fact that, and you'll see from my 30 for 30, it's the second largest city in the nation. The Los Angeles City fan base is what's going to make the money for the NFL and all the other 3 professional sports organizations out there. You have to have the relevance of there. I'm not saying that one blown call is, the reason. You just made a great point, Anthony, what you said, previous bad calls prior to that. What I'm saying is don't blame the city and the fans on one thing there. And I want to put a case in point, Anthony. I told you today. Anthony Davis of the New Orleans Pelicans, who was drafted by the Charlotte Bobcats, Charlotte, whatever they were prior to, he did his time in there. He's coming to the Lakers to play with LeBron James. He just officially announced today that he wants to be traded. So is New Orleans going to be upset that a blown call happened there, and then Anthony Davis comes to the Lakers? And I'm not trying to throw salt on the wound. I'm just stating the fact. Things happen, guys.
Yeah. Now, I did want to say one thing on your transplant thing.
Yes.
Okay. Look, I live in Arizona, so should I be a Cardinal fan because they're the local team?
No.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying, though? So I understand people sticking with their team due to the fact that, somebody else came in there and whatever. That I'm not as upset about. What I am, or where I get frustrated, is when people don't, they pick a team because the media talks about them so much. And they think, therefore, they're good. And then they have no knowledge of the team. Look, if somebody's a diehard loyal Raider fan and they've been a Raider fan since they were a kid, fine. If they were a Cowboy fan since they were a kid, fine. But I just don't want you to crap too much on people that may not be jumping on the Rams bandwagon yet. I'll tell you, it's been my experience, though, LT, they will come around when the Rams start winning because it gets infectious.
Oh, absolutely. And and like I said, I have friends who are close there. I have some close little debates here, and we joke. And it's all good. A lot of them are actually going to be rooting for the Rams because they're just simply tired of seeing the Patriots in the Super Bowl. But, picking a team and being supportive for the city is definitely, a big thing for me.
Well, and look, LT, let me give you an example. So I watch hockey, right? I grew up, I was always a Penguins fan. And then the Coyotes came here and I didn't care. I stayed a Penguins fan. I got season tickets because they were so cheap to the Phoenix Coyotes. And that was the year that the Phoenix Coyotes went all the way to the Western Conference Finals and lost to the Kings in the Western Conference Finals. I'll tell you something. That made me a Coyotes fan forever. And if the Coyotes play the Penguins, I'm rooting for Phoenix. So a season like this can go a long way in transplanting some of those fans into our fan base.
Yes. No, it's definitely a good point. And like I said, for me, when I speak and, I talk, I'm a very passionate person just like Anthony, but I'm also, I have some respect and professionalism, but you have to remember I'm a fighter too. Yeah. Legitimate. And there's times you're gonna mess with me and talk some crap. You're gonna have to expect something back on there. But I really just like what you said, just with everything with the city and the team out there. So I'm curious for you, Anthony. How does your son? I think you have 2 kids.
Yeah.
How do they feel about the Rams and just watching you and everything? How awesome is that infectious feeling to see with your kids and watching the LA Rams in the Super Bowl? You get to do with your kids. What kind of feeling is that to you?
Oh, it's amazing. Elliot doesn't really watch football, so he's not somebody that cares. But Steven, he likes it, and he got so excited when I got excited when the Rams beat the Saints. And he was asking me, "Did the Rams win the Super Bowl?" And I'm like, "No, they're just there right now. They haven't played the game yet." But you want to know something funny? He keeps telling me that he likes the Bengals and the Rams. And I'm like, "Why do you like the Bengals?" And he's like, "Because of the uniforms." And I'm like, "That's why I like the Rams. I can't get mad at the kid. That's the same reason I became a Ram fan. I fell in love with the uniform in '83 and became a fan." What's that? Well, yeah, right? So, we got Whitworth, so we got a Bengal on our team representing. So, but I just thought it was great. It's awesome. Well, look, you got a young one. How's that? He's
my son doesn't speak very much words right now, but as you've probably seen him, he's had a couple cameo appearances. He's wearing his Rams gear, and it's a pretty awesome feeling that I can show later down the line. Pictures of something that hopefully he embraces and he stays, because I'm not going to settle for him rooting for another team, because that's not the way it works in my household. It's something very special to me, Anthony. I've shared personally on my channel, and of course yourself. I grew up with an abusive stepmother who I didn't know was my father. And I didn't meet my biological father until 3 years ago, and he passed away not too long ago. And so my son is very special to me. I'm sorry to get in the sentimental moment. It just speaks volumes on what this means to me with my son, and watching this team going to a Super Bowl. And you know what's funny is my son was born right around the time or close to it when the Dodgers went to the World Series. In fact, I actually got to see both World Series with him either in his mom's tummy or me holding him. And that was a disappointment to me. And I want to bring the Dodgers into this and what the Rams mean to the city. In fact, I find it funny that the Dodgers went and gave a shout out to the Rams because they're currently dead to me. You can call me a, frustrated fan, a fake fan, whatever the case may be. I've been a Dodger fan since I was born, and I don't recall. I'm sure Anthony, you're old enough. I'm not calling you old to remember when Kirk Gibson hit the.
Yeah.
I was very little when that happened. So my memories of the Dodgers are guys. Like Nomar Garcia Parra, Russell Martin, Kemp, these kind of guys. Very frustrating to watch them, and then they go to back, and it's like the Dodgers have become the Buffalo Bills of baseball. And so it gets very frustrating to me that making it there and getting there so close and not winning the big one. But, as much as it comes down to, I'm proud of that. But I want to segue into that, Anthony. I love how we communicate, is that you told me the NFL and the Rams going to their 4th Super Bowl, you told me how difficult it is for a team to get the Super Bowl, let alone win that. Elaborate that on that, Anthony, because you were very passionate about that point.
Well, unless you're the Patriots and you have a weak conference, which the Rams don't have, getting there, you have 16 games. And, 3 or 4 mistakes, you're done. And in the playoffs, every game is game 6 and 7, and I mean that because
yes.
The first half is game 6. You have 15 minutes to make adjustments for game 7. And then whatever happens in the second half determines the outcome of the game. So you can have a great first half. All you did was guarantee game 7. You could blow the first half, but still have game 7, the second half to go. So in the NFL, it's so much more difficult to get there, let alone win it, that, I think from a fan's perspective, if the Rams don't win it, yeah, they're 1-3 in Super Bowls, but they got there. And they're going to forever be on the highlight packages. They're forever going to be, in the Super Bowl books that I got right here, right? Somebody played. Whoever won played somebody. So you're guaranteed some spotlight of some kind through the course of that. And you have the relevance of knowing you were the second best team in the league and the best in your conference. So
as much as I crap on the Patriots, they have been there 9 times. They won 5 times. And luck, whatever you want to say, cheating, the win is the win. And just like you said, Anthony, be proud of the fact that we made it. But we're not talking a losing context. Just
no.
Understand what it's like to get to the Super Bowl and what it means to the city and the fan.
Think about how you feel right now. And they haven't even played the game yet.
Anthony, when I watched that game, I remember we were talking. I think you came on one of my shows and we were just kind of chatting. I was just numb. Like, the fact that Greg Zuerlein kicked that 57-yard field goal, I froze and I was just like, they're in the Super Bowl. I mean, when I watched the Patriots and the Chiefs game, I didn't even pay attention to what was going on because I was just like, is this real? The Rams are in the Super Bowl? I can only imagine what you were feeling, Anthony.
I don't want to sound like a jerk, but I wasn't surprised. I had them. One of my fans told me that what they liked about me is how honest I am with the team. If they play like crap, I'll tell you they played like crap. I was so irritated with the way they played against Philadelphia. They played soft. And there was no excuse for it. But it didn't deter the fact to me that this team, top to bottom, was the best team. Now, all that being said, you would think I didn't know the Rams were going to the Super Bowl because when that ball went through the uprights, I lost it in a good way, not crying. I was screaming. I was running around. I slid on my carpet belly first. I mean, I have never been so happy over a sporting event as a coach, as a player, or as a fan ever in my life. Even more so than when the Rams beat the Buccaneers and went to Super Bowl 34. Even more so than when the Rams won Super Bowl 34. Because I was younger. I had only 10 years ago, I remember the Rams being really good. And yeah, they had some rough moments in the 90s, but I saw them build this team from 96, and I knew how good they were, and I thought they were here to stay. And what that taught me, what the Patriots took from me, and what I took away from that Super Bowl was, I told myself, if they ever get back, savor the moment. Because I didn't savor it when they were in St. Louis. And I wasn't going to let that happen this time. So even though I knew the Rams were going to win, and I expected them to win, I was ecstatic when they did win. So that's all I really need to say. I'm going to wrap things up on my end. Is there anything you want to add on your end?
You know, it was just great to talk on your show and previously recording my video. So I think the information definitely stayed in my head for a bit, and you know, I would love for you to do a second show for the subs, of course, coming up to it. I think it's just going to be a free-for-all week of Ram videos coming in, and it's very well deserved. I want to say, Anthony, like I told you, I call you Yoda for a reason. Just the immense knowledge that you carry, being a Rambassador for us and the channels out there. This is a very special moment for Ram fans, and how far this team has come along. And in your channel, Anthony, I started my channel in 2017, January. Yeah. And if you recall, when I was starting up, you were very helpful for me. Where I began today, I watched my old video the other day, and it's pretty amazing to see how I've evolved. I'm not trying to do my own horn.
No,
how I evolved, but I owe a great gratitude to you on where you've helped me come a long way with it. And just like you said, I was just tired of hearing the same 4 or 5 things: Patriots, Tom Brady, this scandal, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, it's time just to make LA sports Rams, Lakers, Dodger, Kings for me. Of course, our Rams, which is the popular topic. And, you know, that's just really what I have to say on that.
Well, you know, and I hope, to me, the last show that I did, I was really trying to embody the essence of what my show does, which is educate people pre-2000, because the media doesn't do a good enough job. And I want to ask you one last question before I say kind of my parting thought. I know you comment on the last video, but I want just your perspective about that video. What is it about it that you enjoyed? What did you take away from it?
The one that you covered with the post NFC Championship game and
yes,
blown calls and just everything.
Yes,
I just really liked your perspective. You educated people on what went down. You know, you showed the clips of previous bad calls. Bad calls come along the way, but it's, in essence, one bad call does not determine the outcome of the game. You know, we can look back at history on all kinds of stuff. It's up to the team to readjust. That's what good coaching is. That's what a resilient team does. If bad call comes away, you can't battle the referees. It is what it is. But in that moment, you have to decide, how am I going to win this game with the odds against me? And the Saints clearly could not do it. I was so sick and tired of hearing the excuses from the team, the players, the fan base, and petitioning a rematch and all that stuff. And it's just like you said, they were just a bunch of crybabies. How many teams have been screwed along history in all 4 major sports? You know, Charles Woodson said it best, Anthony. He said, if I can get over this deal, Saints fans, you guys can get over it too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And don't forget, Anthony, I know you didn't emphasize too much on the Bounty Gate thing. Don't try to act like your stuff doesn't stink.
Yeah.
When you clearly don't try to feel sorry for me and this city and whatnot. And that's what I really liked about it. And you weren't, you know, I don't think you were being conniving or anything like that. I think it was very good the way you broke down. And of course, I'm sympathetic with the city. It's a bad call, but it is what it is. You should have capitalized along the way. And lastly, who passes on first down? I'm going to end with that.
Yeah. Well, and for me, I mean, you had the lead after the call. and you had the ball first in overtime. Conversation's over. So, look, I want to say how proud I am of, the job you've done on your show. Trent does an amazing job on Rams Talk. I love what that guy does and the work that he puts in. Clash of the Horns is in a league all by himself.
Absolutely.
The Ramily out there, the people that are making these shows, I implore you guys, go and look at other people and their coverage of their teams. The Rams started it all. There was no Seahawks show. There was no Patriots show until the Ramily started ours.
Absolutely.
And they're not even close to being as good as we are. Because they're so biased. What I respect about you, what I respect about Trent, what I respect about Clash of the Horns is you don't sugarcoat it. You don't sugarcoat it. If it's a poopsicle, you call it a poopsicle. You know what I mean? And that's the way it should be. And yes, sometimes that frustration boils over, and I feel like as the elder statesman, I need to calm you guys down a little bit. But, if that's my role in this, then I'm more than happy to embrace that. So just you guys have done an amazing job, and I hope your shows take off and you guys get to 1 million subscribers and you knock it out of the park.
Yeah, it's I don't care how long this show goes on because, like I said, I'm going to say it over. I owe great gratitude to you on how you've mentored me and helped me along the way. But you guys need to understand something here. This man Anthony and his friend Eric, myself, Trent, Clash Sworn stuff, these videos aren't easy. These videos are time-consuming, takes time to process, takes time to write out, to think out. And especially like you, Anthony, who you sit there and you are putting great thought into this, the passion behind it, and the time. Show some appreciation to these channels out there and the hard work that we're putting out there. These are not easy times. We're sacrificing time away from our family.
Yeah.
I don't want to say our jobs, but just things that we could be doing there to spend a little bit of time out there with you guys and really embrace it. And I just think it's a matter of time, Anthony, till you get spotted by the right company and whatnot. I think you will be a sportscaster of the line. I know you're a Rams fan as long as you're living in Arizona, but I really think you'll get there eventually out there.
Man, I hope so. That would be an amazing thing because especially football. I mean, I love it, but I love sports in general. And I'm a high energy guy. I often joke. I'm working on bringing my weight down, which, by the way, Slim Fast is working. I've lost 10 pounds since starting the Slim Fast diet. I'm down to 246. So, hey, I'm a big fan of that program. So, Slim Fast, I don't care that you're not paying me for this, but thank you.
I want to say something, too, because before we end up, I wanted to tell you from my perspective, I had to work on Sunday. I think the Rams, a knock on the organization, they did a horrible PR job on announcing the rally that was in front of the Inglewood Stadium, which I told you about earlier, Anthony.
Yeah.
There was a couple of, I would estimate 7,000, 8,000 fans that showed up. There was fans waiting outside on the lines there. And people want to crap on the city and the fan base that there was no crowds, no loud enough noise, no motivation, and 35,000 fans showed to Foxborough, wherever the Patriots were at. That's going to happen. Give it time. The Rams, we're going to sell out that new stadium. I promise you that. I'm sure Anthony,
I do. I'm not going to defend the Rams here because it was a bad PR move, but to be totally fair, I didn't know that there were send-off parties for Super Bowls. And maybe the Rams didn't either.
Yes.
So, all right, guys. You know what I'm going to say? Go Rams! LT?
Thank you, Anthony, for having me, and look forward to your future shows, my friend.
My pleasure. We got Super Bowls, top 10 Super Bowls coming up. Me and Eric have 3 that we're going over. Top 10 of all time, top 10 most intriguing, and top 10 blowouts. Catch you later.